This is Apple, and she is going to help us. Oh yes, you're very sweet. She's going to help us to discuss how the breed standard for Cavaliers applies to the rear quarters of the dog, which is mostly the rear legs, but it actually starts up a bit higher. The rear assembly is important because movement is the way good structure manifests itself in a dog. Now, some breeds, like herding breeds or hounds or sporting dogs, as examples, really depend a tremendous amount on movement for their function. As companion dogs, Cavaliers really don't depend on movement so much for their function, which is to keep us company and to cuddle up on our laps and be very good companions. But it's still a reflection of the soundness of the body of the dog, which is in turn a reflection of their overall general health. So let's take a close-up look and see what the breed standard refers to and how judges actually examine the rear assembly of a dog. When I'm examining a dog as a judge, I actually start up at the pelvis. Now, there's no description of the pelvis in the breed standard, but if the pelvis is too upright, then that's going to bring the rear legs in, and you're not going to get that nice, strong drive that propels them forward. If the pelvis, on the other hand, is too level, that's going to bring these rear legs back, and they're not going to be able to start their drive from the right place. They have to be able to take this rear leg, put it where the front leg just finished being when they're moving, and then use that to drive all the way back. So usually that means a good 30-degree angle off the horizontal for the pelvis. If I put my hands like this, my thumbs are right along the top of the pelvis, and that looks like a pretty good angle right there. I'm pleased with that. The breed standard does say, though, that the legs should be moderately muscled, and most of the muscle that you're going to feel in the legs is in the upper thigh. So we're going to give a little feel to the upper thigh to see if they have enough muscle to drive themselves. Then we get to the knee, which is otherwise referred to as the stifle. And the stifle, it says in the breed standard, should be well turned. Now, what does that mean? That means that there should be an angle that goes from the top of the knee to the bottom that comes somewhat close to a 90-degree angle. Now, the dog should be properly stacked in order to judge this. I need to stack the dog so that these pasterns in the rear, this is called the pastern, are vertical. All right? If I bring the pasterns too far back, which I've seen handlers do, it flattens out the stifle. If I bring them too far forward, it's, first of all, it's uncomfortable for the dog, but it sort of really does some bad things for their bodies. So we bring that pastern vertical. We judge the turn of stifle, which is the angle that we're going to find here. And she's got a moderately good turn of stifle. This joint right here at the very top of the rear pastern that joins the pastern to the lower part of the leg, that's called the hock. And the breed standard says hocks should be well let down. Now, what well let down means is that they shouldn't be too high. We don't want too long of a pastern. Generally speaking, most judges are looking for a height of about 1/3 of the total height of the dog. So if you see the hock, and then you see where the top of their backside is, it should be about 1/3 of that height. Also states that when viewed from behind, the stifles should parallel each other. Now, that's easy to do when you stack the dog, but you also want to see that when the dog is moving. So it looks kind of like that. And finally, it states that the feet should not be overly large, and they should be well padded. So we look for those pads on the underside of the foot. So if all that comes together in the rear assembly, the dog has at least half of what it needs to propel itself around the ring gracefully, strongly, and efficiently.